A state task force made up of 3 agencies exists to investigate and prosecute insurance fraud.
But we found one of those state agencies using funds for cases that have nothing to do with insurance fraud.
Hey.
Jeff Landry is the state's highest-ranking law enforcer.
We expect the people who enforce the law to live by the law.
But our investigation has found Landry's office might be ignoring the law.
This is unacceptable.
The state attorney general might be misspending money, a fee paid by insurance companies.
How can we live in a society where our law enforcers are flouting the law?
In the 1990s, the state legislature created the Insurance Fraud Investigation Unit. The money from a fee assessed on insurance premiums goes to state police, the Department of Justice or Attorney General, and the Department of Insurance. And the legislature wrote the law making sure the money given to each agency is spent just on insurance cases, writing monies in the fund shall be appropriated, administered, and used solely and exclusively for purposes of the fraud unit.
What would you expect the Attorney General to do? To use that money for the purpose for which it's entitled.
About $1 million a year goes to the Attorney General to prosecute cases, and records we requested from the Attorney General show he might not be spending much of that money on insurance fraud cases. Take prosecutor Amanda Martin. In 2019, records show her total income just under $83,000. A different set of records shows her entire salary was funded out of the insurance fraud unit's funds. 3 straight years, Amanda Martin's salary was covered by these funds. But when we reviewed the 83 cases she's prosecuted since 2018, we only found 7 that appear to be related to insurance fraud. About 90% of her cases had nothing to do with insurance fraud, even though her entire salary is covered by this money.
If Assistant Attorney General X is doing 10% of that person's work on insurance fraud, then fair enough. 10% of their salary should come out of this fund. Not 100%, not 80%, not 50%. Instead, the Attorney General is using this as a subsidy for his budget.
We found other prosecutors with similar findings. Insurance funds cover all of Barry Milligan's salary, even though about 90% of his cases don't deal with insurance fraud. Wanda Yates is a receptionist in the criminal division. In 2019, insurance fraud unit funds covered 100% of her salary. We're not the first ones raising these questions with the AG's office. In his resignation letter, former Assistant Attorney General Matthew Durbis told Landry he reported and complained about the illegal spending of insurance fraud support unit funds, writing the office had been illegally manipulating this fund for years.
This is the chief law enforcement officer of the state ignoring or circumventing both the letter of the law and certainly the spirit of the law.
Specifically, it says
New Orleans East State Senator Joseph Bowie sits on the Senate Insurance Committee.
I mean, clearly, you have shown me some evidence that says the number of cases by several of those staff persons are not solely within the fraud unit expenditure, and that's what the purpose of that fund is.
Bowie wants the Insurance Committee to investigate these questions.
Do you expect the AG's office to follow the law?
Well, you know, the AG's office, as its role for the state, is the premier entity for ensuring that the laws of this state are, that we are in compliance with those laws. So not only would I expect him to do it, I would be surprised if he didn't.
The AG's office declined our request for an interview, telling us the Louisiana Department of Insurance is the administrator of the fund, and our inquiry was better suited for that office. But the Department of Insurance told us that's not true, writing 3 agencies collectively participate administering the task force: insurance, the Attorney General, and state police. We also told the Attorney General's office the funds flow to their office. They have control over their 15% allocation. Thus, it seems reasonable to ask questions about how they allocate their money. The AG's office told us once again the fact remains that the Louisiana Department of Insurance is the fund administrator, which appears to be untrue. The Office of Insurance also told us each agency administers its allocated funds, so the Attorney General's office is responsible for how its money is being spent. But there's more. Getting records to detail our findings proved difficult. Take the long list of cases handled by each prosecutor in the office. On January 19th of this year, we asked the Attorney General for a spreadsheet that shows all of the closed cases for the past 3 years, and we wanted that spreadsheet to list each prosecutor in the case. 8 days later, the office responded their system doesn't track closed cases by assistant attorney general or prosecutor. We replied that we've seen their case tracking system and it does allow the search we're requesting. About 2 weeks later, the office sent the spreadsheet we requested, about 2 months after telling us it couldn't be produced. We also asked the Attorney General for other spending related to the insurance fund. On March 17th, we asked for a data set of all expenses. We received a summary sheet of 6 categories. So we told them that's vague and we wanted a detailed list. The office responded with another summary breakdown with no expense by expense detail.
They won't give us the detailed expenses.
Well, what's the natural inference? When you ask somebody a question and they refuse to give you the answer, the natural inference is they don't want to give you the answer because it's not a good answer.
They have this available. They didn't give it to us. In your opinion, is that a blatant violation of the public records law?
Yes, of course.
The expense summary they sent raises more questions with Joel Friedman. Insurance fraud unit money went to pay for drug testing, bar dues, and even Capitol Park security.
You can tell from the name of some of these items, Capitol Security, for example, has nothing to do with prosecuting, investigating, educating people about insurance fraud.
The law states all unexpended money needs to be refunded, so the office has no authority to direct unused money to other departments. Friedman says he's not sure if Attorney General Jeff Landry is aware of the findings in our story. It's likely someone else in his office who allocates the money. Regardless, Friedman says it's unacceptable and must be addressed immediately by the highest-ranking law enforcer in the state.
But in the end, as Harry Truman said, the buck stops with him.
As for those detailed expense records, we are still waiting on those from the Attorney General's office. We traded a series of emails with the AG's office. About 2 days after we wrote with the Department of Insurance replied, the Attorney General's office sent us another email. In it, the office wrote, "This tri-agency task force has operated for nearly 2 decades without incident. There have been no complaints from any of the participating agencies or within our agency on the implementation of pursuing these important cases." The spokesperson went on to say Amanda Martin has worked and is currently working insurance fraud cases and is eligible to be paid out of the insurance fraud fund. All parties involved in the task force are state employees being paid by state funds and stand ready at any moment to pursue these cases.